You, book one about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the founder of Be Limitless, no other than Miss Bethany Shelton.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fabulous, fabulous Miss Bethany. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Bethany Shelton, the owner of Be Limitless Now. If you're ready for a storytelling experience, I've got one for you this evening. I,
Yes, go
yeah,
ahead.
yes, how Be Limitless all started about in 2020. My only child was killed in a car wreck instantly, hit head on. And so through this experience, I have found out a whole bunch of interesting things about the other side, frequency, energy, spirit, and I, through this transformation of my child, he has communicated with me in ways I had no idea was possible. And so all my life, I was pretty much a stay at home mom. And after this transformation, I was told and led that, hey, mom, we're doing Be Limitless. We're starting this company to help other people know that communication and connection is possible. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Well, Miss Bethany, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and business to the world. And today, let's talk about alchemist as identity. Why did the metaphor of alchemist resonate for your journey?
Well, here's the thing is that the heart alchemist, you know, was something that was brought to me. Most of my life and most of us growing up, we were taught as young children to go to school, raise our hand, get the right answer, think about it, be a good human, right?
Yes.
So most of us are stuck in our mind, thinking, trying to do right, get the right answer. And so I found when my son passed that I was in my mind 100% of the time, and I was finding that I was telling myself stories and pain loops, but I was unaware that I was even choosing to think that. So my child was like, "Mom, did you know that your mind, your thoughts are a frequency? Did you know that they're a choice?" And I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, Mom, shut your mind off." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "So what do you get?" I was like, "Well, it's kind of quiet, you know?" He said, "Well, how about drop into your heart?" I was like, "Now that's something different." We've been led to believe that our heart is only a organ pumping blood through our body, but it's so much more than that. It is way more than that. Way more powerful than that. So when I stopped thinking and started to feel, I started to feel and notice that I was operating in a different frequency, something different that was change. When you take the mind out of the element and you're in your heart, what do you get? You're in presence. You're in the now. You're in this moment. There's no past, no future. You're just here. You're in acceptance and allowance. Therefore, that brings forth choice. And what you think about, you bring about. What you bring about, you experience. So when I dropped into my heart and shut my mind off, this was powerful. I was in a new frequency. I was able to choose and be a creator of my reality at that point. And that's where the heart alchemist comes into play. We've just been taught to just think about it. Think. And before you know it, you're storytelling, paint looping, and you're wishing for a different outcome, but not doing anything different. That's the definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing and wishing for a different outcome.
Indeed,
you
Miss
know? So,
Bethany.
yeah. So I was like, well, this is this is new. This is fun. And so, yeah, that's where the Heart Alchemist came in. I was really enjoying being able to have choice and direction, and choosing something different for myself, having a limitless possibility to of experience.
Can you share the moment or experience that became the catalyst for your deepest grief?
Yeah. So you talking about what was my biggest sign?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, oh my gosh, we'll be here for we'll be here for a minute. Okay, so this is where I had no idea. So okay, one day I go get into my shower, right? I get in the shower, I open up the shower curtain, and I look down, and there's coins, quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies inside of my tub. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't usually shower with coins or pockets or anything like that. I was like, well, that's interesting. But I picked up the quarter, and it had my son's death year on it. And I didn't think anything about it. I just set it to the side. Well, later on that night, no, it was the next day. I go to the bathroom, and inside my toilet, there's nickels, dimes, pennies. I was like, man, this is kind of weird. Well, about a week passed, and I got up out of the bed one morning, as I normally do, get out, make your bed, get everything, tidy and nice. Well, that night, I come to get back in my bed, and there's quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies inside of my bed that were not there when I made my bed. I was like, now this is just now this is becoming just strange. So I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm I'm finding these coins everywhere. She said, I am too. I'm finding nickels, dimes, pennies everywhere. I said, are you kidding me? So it was about 3 days later, I'm vacuuming my house. I'm vacuuming, vacuum the living room, go put the vacuum machine back up. I come back in the living room, and I look down, and there's coins on my freshly vacuum carpet. Now, those things were not just there. I just vacuumed, and I was like, I looked at it, and it had my son's birth year on it. Now, that blew me out of the water, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think my child is trying to communicate with me. So I walked out on my deck, and I was like, Kevin, if this is you, man, can you show up for me like a blue jay or a red bird? The very next day, everywhere I went, I saw a blue jay or a cardinal. I mean, everywhere I went. And in that moment when I saw the blue jay, of course, I just broke down in tears of happiness and joy, and I was so excited. And that was the turning point for me to say, okay, there's something here. There's communication here. So when I started to get excited about the possibility of what might show up next, well, then I was changing my frequency. I was in the higher aspects of joy, happiness, compassion, understanding, love. And so when I found that when I was elevating my joy and happiness, that communication would come in. So here's another, sign. One day I was on the couch with his dad. We were just talking, and his dad's phone was sitting right there, and it was, locked. Well, out of nowhere, my son's favorite song played on his dad's phone, and his dad didn't have his son's music downloaded, and we could not shut it off to save our. I mean, there was no way we could do it. And so we both looked at each other and we were like, this is amazing. So then, my son really started to amp up and started to play with the lights and electronics. So that was where it all really began.
Miss Bethany, we often intellectualize grief. How did your profound loss manifest physically in your body? And how did you learn to listen to those somatic signals?
Well, here's the thing is that, you know, like attracts like, you know, and the law of attraction. So when you are operating and focused on the lower aspects of grief, loss, separation, hurt, anger, resentment, blame, shame, guilt, less than, not enough, you are only attracting more of that into your field. So when you gain that awareness that by me, what I think about, I bring about. So by me staying locked, blocked, and stopping these thoughts, feelings, and emotions that I really am not enjoying feeling, then you gain the awareness of that and you can change it. And if you continue to stay, I mean, if grief is on a frequency scale, on a vibration, is vibrating right above death. It is so low in frequency that at what point would somebody say, okay, I want to choose something different, I want to feel something different? We weren't taught how to do that. We were just taught the lower aspects. But once you break out of the lower aspects and you get into your heart, then you can choose something different. And that's when you can choose the higher aspects. And when the higher aspects come in, you will have communication, connection through messages, signs, and synchronicities.
Very well said, Miss Bethany. Very well said. What were the most essential, non negotiable practices?
Great question. Great question. And thank you for asking that. I'm going to tell you probably my most healing modality was getting out in nature, getting out and just being by myself and just feeling nature, just looking at the birds, looking at the water, and just being. That was probably that and sound therapy frequencies. My son brought uh, these to me, and I would play these on repeat, and I would sit out in nature, and I found that to be probably one of the most healing for me.
Miss Bethany, you speak of alchemy, which requires embracing the dark material. How did you learn to sit with unbearable pain without fleeing into distraction or false positivity?
Yeah, great question. Grief is something that you can't run from. It's there. You're gonna have that. I still, like, Mother's Day this year was a tough one. I said, man, Kevin, I sure need you to show up and show out for me today. And about that time, I had a bird land within my electromagnetic field, 3 feet in front of me, and I could feel the vibration of that bird, and that bird sent love and joy. But my my I would say to just feel everything without having to label it as right or wrong or I ought not. If you gain the awareness that, oh my gosh, I feel it, I feel the pain, but don't get stuck there. That's the thing. Like I said before, like attracts like. So feel it, allow it, accept it, and move through it and drop into your heart and give yourself love, compassion, grace, joy, and that right there will do wonders for you.
Totally agree with you, Miss Bethany. Believe in the wonder. Your work feels like a rebellion against the get over it or find closure culture. What harmful societal narratives about grief are you actively dismantling?
This is a good one. Yes. So here's the thing. When I found this information out about the program, and this is what I call the self discovery. When I was told to go research grief and Disney movies. Now, I don't know about you. As a kid, I always watched Disney movies. I had a cousin that was 6 months, about 6 months older than me, and every weekend, every holiday, every summer, we would spend all the time, and we would put in these Disney movies on repeat through visual and audio. Right. So here's the thing about a television. The television is telling you a vision through sight and sound on repetition. Now, Disney did a fantastic job of the program. We turn on our television and we dial in on a frequency realm to the programming that we're going to download to ourself through our consciousness and subconsciousness. And here's what Disney did. Finding Nemo, Brother Bear, Lion King. Lion King, Mufasa was killed by Scar, which is blame, shame, grief, loss, separation. And they kicked Simba out into the Badlands, blame, shame, guilt, not enough, less than, because he wasn't on the program of Scar being king. We got Dumbo. Dumbo just wanted to fly. He was separated from his mom, grief, loss, separation. And he was made fun of because of his ears. Blame, shame, guilt. We've got Spirit. We've got what were some of the other ones? Oh, I said Finding Nemo. Uh, Pinocchio, Rudolph. We've got Cinderella, Snow
Find
White.
Finding Dory.
Fine, yeah. I mean, the list goes on, and it's through repetition that we were, as children, we watched these shows. And if you think about it, if you really feel it and think about it, all of those movies always start off with either the parent getting killed, grief, loss, separation, blame, shame, guilt. I mean, it's there, and we didn't know any better. So yeah, that's what I am here to bring awareness to, that we were taught this through childhood.
Miss Bethany, as the founder of Be Limitless, what are your short term and long term goals?
Oh, my short-term goals would be to just get out here and spread my message as much as possible. Long-term goals is to be on stages and design movies that show the higher aspects, a new way of being, a new way of feeling, thinking, and emotions. So that's where I foresee that I'm going to be going.
Very well said, Miss Bethany, and good luck to your goals.
Thank you.
And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there suffering from grief right now?
My advice would be, would what if your crossed over loved one is trying to communicate with you right now, but you are unaware of it because you are stuck in the grief? Just like when my son crossed over, he's when he was alive, we operated on the physical plane just like this, right? Just like how I'm talking to you now. Well,
Yes.
when he crossed over, he rose and frequency, vibration, and I dropped in grief, blame, shame, and lower aspects. Well, do you see how hard it is to communicate with that gap?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. So until you start changing your vibration, it's going to be difficult for your loved one to communicate with you. So I give my clients the tools on how to communicate and get the signs, synchronicities, and messages, not only from your crossed over loved one, but through with your spiritual, your angelic, your galactic, your indigenous, and your ancestral guides. So, yeah, that's if you are looking to communicate with your loved one, I can help you with that.
Thank you, Miss Bethany, for your advice and hoping that our listeners are empowered through your
Yeah.
advice. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and of course my food 101 in its fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Bethany, if someone hearing this feels buried by grief right now, what is the one small, gentle, alchemical step you to invite them to take today to start honoring their pain and their soul's potential within it?
I would tell them to get a journal. I on my website I have a free gift that they can go and download, transmuting your pain into purpose. Go there, download that free gift, and it will absolutely get you starting to feel and heal. That's what I would suggest to them.
Yes, indeed, Miss Bethany Shelton. Thank you so much for sharing your Be Limitless through the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business itself?
Yes, please come to my website, be limitless now at .com.
Yes,
Be limitless
people.
now.com.
Yes, indeed. Yes, people, let's support Miss Bethany Shelton because if you support her, more and more and more be limitless to come. Miss Bethany, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you from
More
my
to come.
heart to yours.
Yes, more to come, people. See you soon.